So a couple of days ago, my boy and I were chatting about the show You. Then a couple days after that, they announced the release date of Season 3. I've been excited to see where they'll take the story after the events of Season 1 and 2. And it feels like it's been forever since we've gotten any word as to when it was coming out. But finally, some good news. We got a release date, and it's just over a month away. That's right, on October 15th, we get to see what happens with Joe, Love, their child, and probably their neighbor? In this video, we're discussing You. I want to try to answer why this show is so popular. I'll dive into why it's so relatable, and at the end, we'll discuss some theories for Season 3. Get ready, this is my thoughts on beginnings. Now, most people associate this show with Netflix, as it's been branded as a Netflix original since December of 2018. But funny enough, Netflix had nothing to do with the first 10 episodes, and you'll never guess the network that did. Unless you've already done your research, in which case I don't know why I'm making a big deal out of it. But seriously, did you know You Season 1 was created and aired on Lifetime? Okay, I actually knew this going into the writing of this episode, but I just think it's crazy that a network I can only imagine my mom watching produced this. I am beginning to see why this show didn't perform well on Lifetime, but millennials eat it up on Netflix. After sitting down and watching both the Lifetime and the Netflix trailers back to back, there are some critical differences in why this show only became successful after being acquired by Netflix. As I mentioned, Lifetime isn't usually the network I go to when looking for quality content. Whenever a friend says, "Hey, know of any good shows to watch?" I never say, "Have you heard of this Lifetime original?" There are reasons for that. I'm not necessarily their demographic, but I think You is probably one of the best shows out right now. Why is that? When watching both trailers, you can absolutely tell that Lifetime leaned more into the show's romance and love story side, which is fine. But watching the first trailer, I can tell how some people may have felt misled by it. In my opinion, it isn't a very accurate representation of what the show is about. Netflix learned from Lifetime's mistakes in marketing and took a different approach. Instead of being focused on romance, Netflix focused on the stalker aspect of the show.
And there you were. Every account set to public. You want to be seen, heard, known. Of course, I obliged.
Leaning more into Joe as a character, giving us a better idea of what to expect when watching the show. Speaking of everyone's favorite murderer, Joe. What makes Joe so relatable? Why is it that we as an audience are so obsessed with characters that do despicable things? I mean, seriously, within a few hours of first meeting Beck, he knows her home address, he watches her get, what's the YouTube friendly word for this, fluffed from across the street, then publicly enjoys himself to the thought of what he just saw. Seriously, this dude is kind of disgusting. If I were walking down the street and saw some guy doing this, I'd probably fight him. So why is it so damn gripping when watching it on TV? I think the character of Joe being so likable has a lot to do with the actor playing him, Penn Badgley. Penn has played the nice guy in a few roles prior. From his time on Gossip Girl, or that time he was in Easy A with my girl Emma Stone. He was so used to playing this role that he basically became typecast in it. Then he started playing Joe. I think Joe is popular because he's the right character for the era in which he exists. Privacy went out the window with the internet, and it honestly can make dating a little complicated. Speaking as a single male myself, it's pretty crazy the information we put out there without even thinking about it. And this goes for anyone. I believe Joe works because he tugs at that fear we all have. What if I meet someone and they find out all my dirty secrets online? Or worse, what if they're like Joe and try to build a perfect relationship using insider knowledge? Or, well, perfect to their standards. I can't imagine how meeting someone that kills my friends to protect me could create a perfect relationship. But I digress. Rationalization.
I'm not a bad person. She was going to ruin you, but you're safe now, thanks to me. I just want you to live your best life. It's brave what I do for you. It's not easy. It's hard. Sometimes it makes me sick. I'm brave. How many guys are willing to do anything for the person they love? Honestly, Beck, you're lucky to have me.
You shows us a story that could be real. And in my opinion, that's why it's become such a cultural phenomenon. I feel like Joe is relatable because of his inner monologue. If we didn't get to hear his voice and listen to him rationalize his behavior, we probably wouldn't feel as connected to him. Think about it. How many times have you done something terrible to someone? Then, to clear your conscience, you convince yourself what you did was not that bad, or in Joe's case, for the greater good. We connect with Joe because while he's a violent sociopath, we can't help but empathize with him. We are almost tricked into rooting for him on a subconscious level, and it's all due to the one creative decision of letting us hear his thoughts. But most of all, the choice of wording helps convince us that Joe in this story is just somehow misunderstood. Usually I'm against narration. I find that most of the time it can take away from the story being told. But You doesn't really have narration. It's not the protagonist explaining the story to the audience. Instead, it's our protagonist having internal one-sided conversations with his love interest. And because we are there for all of it, we hear how Joe really feels about his love interests at all times. We can't help but feel sympathy towards him when they don't behave like he expects. Love. I gotta be straight with you. The twist that was Love's character surprised the hell out of me. I genuinely didn't see it coming, but after watching season 1 and the way that ended, it's hard to imagine the following season any other way than what we got. The way season 2 built on already established story threads of season 1, only to rip the rug out from under us and have Love turn out to be just like Joe, was A1 TV. Just as Joe is ready to repent, Love ropes him back in. A little on the nose, but fitting that Joe falls in love with Love. Also, I love that when Joe finds out who Love really is, he's disgusted with her.
What the fuck?
Interesting that a serial killer can't get along with another serial killer. It's like Love is a manifestation of all the things Joe hates about himself. Now he's stuck with her. Or is he? Theory. At the beginning of this, I said I wanted to talk about a theory for the upcoming season. I might be wrong. Like I said, I had no idea the season 2 twist was coming. But I have a few thoughts about how the next season will play out and eventually end. So here it goes. As we all know from the ending of season 2, Love is pregnant with Joe's baby. They now live in a suburb somewhere, and it looks like next season will be based on them raising a child together. I have a theory that they will have 2 conflicting parenting styles due to their wildly different upbringings. Joe will then confide in whoever his neighbor turns out to be, eventually leading to him killing Love or attempting to so he can protect his child. Or Love finds out about the neighbor and kills her, leaving Joe in a somewhat hostage situation. Either way, expect someone to die at the end of the season. That's all I've got for you guys today. If you made it to the end, hit that like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm out of here. Peace!